Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. This is Simon with AvaTrade, and we're starting our Sunday's webinar, Trading Prospects, mapping out your week ahead. In simple words, what we do here is actually trying to plan our week ahead. And as you know, planning could be very practical and beneficial as opposed to just doing things on the go. And as traders like to say, you plan your trade and then you trade your plan. So let's try to do that. A few words about myself. My name is Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager with AvaTrade. I started to trade when the dot-com burst in June of 2000. I came to Wall Street. I was working as a prop trader for about 11 years, and after that, I moved on into different way of trading, started to mentor and educate others, and I'm very happy that I can assist our customers at AvaTrade. The agenda of the webinar, this is for new people, the regulars you already know the drill. What we do here is actually we talk a little bit about fundamentals. We go through economic calendar and discuss things that are waiting for us. Then we go through the charts of indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex. Risk warning, you can find a full statement at avatrade.com. What we'll do here, of course, it's purely educational. Now, these are the channels of AvaTrade. I highly recommend for you to subscribe and follow them. You have Telegram, you have former Twitter, which is X now. And as I always say, and I'll keep on saying it, YouTube is my favorite channel. You have a lot of information there that's being updated on daily basis. Therefore, please subscribe, click on likes if you do like it, don't fake it, share it with your friends, click on that bell, you'll be notified live when things are being added. You have a lot of educational material, tutorials, webinars. If you missed the webinar, any webinar, we do a lot. Me and my colleagues, we create a lot of webinars for you guys. So if you miss it or you think you're gonna miss it, don't sweat. You can always go on the YouTube channel, find it webinar, relax and watch it whenever you can. Before we go into the economic calendar, just funny enough, looking at this slide, you can just start and finish the whole webinar here. And as I mentioned last week to my team when I do market reviews, I just told them that just follow NVIDIA. When NVIDIA goes up, Nasdaq goes up, it's going to pull all the market high. If NVIDIA sells, the markets can go down. And we saw it the previous week. We had NVIDIA before the release of the earnings, the stock sold. We'll take a look at the charts later on, but just to show you how NVIDIA has the power, and it's all about AI. The moment the AI really kicked in, the suppliers, and NVIDIA is one of the biggest suppliers, if not the only one. I'm not sure. I'm not that knowledgeable in technology, but they are producing those expensive, powerful chips for the processors that work with AI. So that's your NVIDIA. And actually, I created another slide here. Before we go there, just read the title. NVIDIA is the Magnificent One. So what does it mean? If you remember, we had the FANG group, right? Then they were renamed like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and so on. Now it's all NVIDIA. I think Microsoft is also very strong as they are working very, very hard on that AI, and they're the biggest investors into that field. So I just found this slide here that I just wanted to show to you. So NVIDIA briefly actually reached the 2 trillion on Friday, but it didn't give away. So it ended up right here. Let's read it together. The chipmaker stock closed at 788.17 on Friday, giving it market value 1.97 trillion. That figure is greater than GDP of every nation in the world but 11, beating the likes Russia, South Korea, Australia, according to February International Monetary Fund data compiled by Forbes. So that's your NVIDIA. Actually, it gapped up on Friday, reached the all-time high at $23.94, but then it sold. We'll take a look at the chart. But just to show you, it actually, excuse me, USA is number one, China, Germany, Japan, India, UK, France, Italy, Brazil, Canada, Mexico, and then the market cap of Nvidia, and then it's ahead of Russia, Korea, Australia, Spain, Indonesia, Turkey, Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, and so on. Okay, so just to show you how one company can gain a lot, and just to remind us, I think currently Microsoft is number one. Apple could be number two. He gave away the title of $3 trillion company. So these are the numbers. All right. So before going to economic calendar, just we did have a strong week. Nvidia with the results and projections for the next quarter really pushed the market higher. But Friday looks like towards the end of the session there was a profit taking. So the idea is what's going to be this week. Is this move kind of cooling down, or is the normal profit taking before the weekend, and then we resume the move to the upside? We'll find out. So here's the economic calendar. Just for new people, important to mention that you can find it first of all on our web trader or our Trade Go app. Also, there's a lot of third-party providers that give you these numbers. It's the same. It's public information. It's available to everyone. What I do here is actually I take out the high impact events only. There's much more. You can filter through them. You can choose what's applicable or relevant to you, and so on. So let's start. We have on Wednesday, we have consumer price index from New Zealand, also interest rate and monetary policy statement from New Zealand. And this is the thing, when we get to New Zealand, for some reason, New Zealand dollar, if you take the Forex or the currencies, it's been super, super strong. So maybe they anticipating something, I'm not sure. We have GDP numbers from the US on Wednesday as well. Thursday, we have retail sales from Australia, also from Germany, GDP numbers from Switzerland, CPI numbers from Germany, GDP from Canada, and this is the highlight of the week, I would say. We have core personal consumption expenditure prices. This is the inflation and number that the Feds are really watching. So before we go further, just to make a little bit of a note here. So it looks like it's been a fight now between the Fed's actions and the strength of AI and NVIDIA. As you know, when we show the higher than expected inflation numbers, the market sold, and then Nvidia reported the market just took off. So let's see if this number will kind of add to one side or another. And that's on Thursday. Friday, we have Chinese numbers here, which is also important. We have manufacturing PMI, non-manufacturing PMI. We have inflation numbers from the European Union and manufacturing PMI from US. So that's the economic calendar. Now, let's start from NVIDIA. I have it on the chart here. Just let's start for the monthly chart so we have an idea what the stock actually did. It's been super, super strong. It's just flying and unstoppable. So here we have the action. This is the pre-earnings. If you remember, we started selling on the 16th. Then we had the long weekend. We came back on Tuesday. The stock gapped, and then the next day, and then the earnings came. Of course, all this gap was the actions after the market, and then it just gapped up on Thursday and continued Friday. It was another gap. We established the all-time high, as I mentioned to you, above $823, and we settled at 788.17. So we'll be watching NVIDIA definitely. As here, it rejected that gap, so it just shows you that maybe the buyers are a little bit cautious and they're taking the profit from entering earlier. Of course, a lot of actions there. We'll try to see what's next. Now, if you take Nasdaq, it just went with Nvidia on those 2 days, and then Friday we had a cool down. Now, something that I mentioned sometimes, I'm going to mention it again. There's an instrument, the ETFs. Actually, the QQQ, very popular ETF among day traders. Instead of trading expensive futures, they trade QQQs, which is right here. That represents a Nasdaq index within the ETF format. So as you could see, if you take 1 hour chart, it's really very dynamic, a lot of volatility. Sometimes it is, I mean, not sometimes, but it's one of the most traded ETFs together with spiders, which represent S&Ps, and diamonds, which represent Dow Jones. So here's the instrument that a lot of traders are paying attention to, which is SQQQ. It's a reversal, and it's right here, ProShare Ultra Short QQQ. So when the Nasdaq is going up, as you could see, the SQQQs are selling. When the Nasdaq is going down, the instrument is going higher. So it's also one of the ways of trading the market. You can try to explore this instrument. All right, so we did establish that NVIDIA is leading and the market is following it. So let's just take a quick look at all the indices. We'll start with China, as China is approaching something that we mentioned, that the moment we actually broke above the level that we couldn't break above the 11,500, there was a move to the upside, and as I mentioned to you last time, we might be retesting 12,000, and we just did right here. We hit 12,067.5 on the 21st of February, and so far we haven't moved higher. And possibly, if we are moving, next step is 12,100, and that's around 200 moving average here. We have some data from China, as we mentioned, in economic calendar. So we'll see if we reach that level. As you could see here, there was a lot of actions around this level, support, a lot of actions. We broke above, below, retested, and we sold on all the issues with China, and then we're approaching that point again. Japanese Nikkei finally broke through that 39-year-old level, I think, as it was advertised everywhere, so it's known. And of course, the global markets are moving higher, talking about US especially, Europe as well. We'll talk about German index in a moment. And also the weakness of yen that continues is really helping Nikkei move higher here. So we'll continue watching that. And again, the moment we see that decision of Bank of Japan, we might see a correction there, but that's no one knows when. Maybe around April, as the governor of Bank of Japan mentioned. Let's see what happens in that direction. Now, let's see other US indices. So we mentioned the NASDAQ, it retraced on Friday. Dow Jones, it's been very strong. It's actually closed in a positive territory on Friday, and S&Ps was almost flat. Let's see. The open is 5,098.5, close 5,095.25, about 3 points lower. So Nasdaq, of course, reacted to that NVIDIA move, and the others pretty much flat. German index was very strong on Thursday. Friday we were in green as well, but we closed lower than that all-time high established on Thursday, which was 17,476. We closed 11 points lower, so we're still in the record territories. Let's take a look at UK FTSE. It is the weakest out of all the majors. It is still struggling and definitely far from all-time highs here. So that's the indices. We're going to move to stocks now, and as we mentioned, we spoke about NVIDIA already. Let's take a look at all the majors. As it says, the magnificent NVIDIA and not the others anymore. So let's take a look. We start with Microsoft. Microsoft, after making that high and establishing #1 in market cap, it gave away a little bit of the profits. And then we had the gap, of course, with NVIDIA. Microsoft went up in sympathy as they involved in AI, as I mentioned. And then Friday, we gapped and sold, similar situation to NVIDIA. So the all-time highs remained, or the record remained unbeaten yet. We had it on February 9th and the high of 420.5. That's on Microsoft. Google is the weakest out of the group. As you could see here, we keep on making lower highs. And if we draw a trend line here, we're still in a downtrend cycle, it looks like it, right? So that's Google. Amazon is strong. It is moving higher, still wouldn't beat the all-time highs. And the reaction here was when Amazon, it was announced that it's entering a Dow Jones index, replacing Walgreens. So that's a positive thing. If you take a look at Netflix, after hitting the highs on the 16th at 509, almost 597, we are kind of stuck here. Let's see what this week brings for Netflix. So as you could see, all the majors, or not the majors, but let's call them ex-magnificent, according to analysts. They are, some of them after making highs, are retracing. And of course, Tesla is showing further weakness. We did fight that 200 area, and then we sold, we closed at 192. Let's take a look at some other stocks. Walgreens, if you remember, sorry, not the Walgreens that was removed from Dow Jones. Walmart, after making all-time high with the good earnings, it is retracing a little bit here. We made briefly that high of 181.15, and then we sold, and we closed at 175.99 here. GM, speaking of cars, is struggling at current levels right here, as you could see. We had the level here, we can draw actually the line around that level. So here, after hitting that level here, back in July of last year, 39.63. It was a sell-off, as you know. There was a lot of issues with car makers and the strike of automakers. Then after solving that issue, I think GM was the last one to solve it, if I'm not mistaken. And then we had a nice recovery here, starting from November with some gaps. Here's another gap, and we're back where we started. As you could see here, we actually closed on Friday at 39.65, double top from here. We are really trying to push through it, but having a little bit of a hard time. So let's see. First, if we are planning on going higher from here, we need to break this level here. And then we might be seeing continuation to the upside. And let's take a look at our Teva Pharmaceutical. Sometime we mentioned the stock. Where are you, Teva? Here we go. So Teva, after making this nice journey, uh, just you know what, I'll explain to new people where Teva comes from in our analysis here. So for a while, I've been talking about this range between 7 and 11, and a few times we mentioned uh, the potential of buying around 7 and taking it higher. It worked a few times, and then the moment we broke through the 11, we mentioned that 12, 13 could be the next target. And I think last week we mentioned something that some analysts are predicting the price of 19, and it's totally doable as we've been in this range since we established the low of $6 here, 607, all the way in August of 2019. And then we tried to run, we had the high of 1374 on February 2020. That's exactly 4 years ago. So it looks like we are on the way to break it. And we are here struggling around 13. We had so far on this current move, we had the high of 1333. Then here on the 21st, we hit 1330. Friday, we had the sell-off, but we came to close within this range. So it looks like the sell-off attracts the buyers. As you could see, this tail was recovered. So we'll continue watching Teva and a possible breakout above the 1370, $14. And as I mentioned, some analysts are setting up the target around 19, which makes sense because next level kind of around 20. So that's as far as stocks. We'll move to commodities. We'll start with gold. Gold had a nice move on Friday. We are breaking the 50 moving average here. We closed above after the few days of flat closing here. Let's see if we hold above, and if we continue high, we might be retesting the recent high from beginning of February, which was 2065. The opposite scenario, we could be diving below 50 again and retesting the 100 moving average and the level that we had here around 2008. Copper, we forgot China. No, we did speak about China. Copper should be showing a little bit of strength on this move, and we mentioned last week, I think. Let's take a look what's currently doing. It is nicely moving, and it's in green, and we're above the all three moving averages. So what we do here, we want to set up the level here, the high of Friday, which was 3.8850. I'm going to set up that horizontal level. Okay, so that's our test. And if you can take a look over here on, we go left, we had a lot of actions here. See, big tail here, a lot of actions around this level. Here, this correction where the two big candles ended up exactly there, high 388.50, right? So I always say the history repeats itself, not necessarily 100%, but in a lot of cases, because something stopped it. I look at it logically. Something stopped this move. Why didn't it continue? I don't know, another 10, 15 cents or another dollar, right? That means the seller was sitting here, correct? So here, wow, it just jumped, showed me another data, right? Okay, so excuse me. So we did close above, and then it looks like it just jumped out. Maybe I just moved the chart. I apologize. Let's see. Okay, it's much better. So Friday we did sell, and then we recovered halfway. Let's take a look at China again. Maybe the chart looks different. No, China index ended up almost flat. So copper had a little bit of a correction. So just shows that 388.50 is the level that so far we're having a new resistance around there. Okay. Palladium. Palladium has been moving a lot. We had this level, if you remember, 950, which was a lot of action. We broke below. Then we went all the way to 882.9, a little bit of recovery, briefly broke above 200. We had the new resistance around 100 moving average. And then we established the new low against the previous one. So the low here was 872.7, few actions above. We broke and we start facing resistance around here, around 914, 915, and we ended up being at 905. So just to show you a big picture, sorry, I'm confusing myself today. I apologize. I'm showing you platinum and discussing palladium. That's why I'm very confused here. Doesn't make sense. Okay, here's our palladium. Here's the level 950. As I mentioned, we stopped first time here with a nice move to the upside, and then starting from December of last year, so it's a huge sell-off. We stopped around 925. We had a little bit of a correction. This was the trend line that I drew a while ago. We start establishing the new support around these levels. This was the initial rejection of 859.70, and as you could see here on the 14th of February, happy Valentine's, we had a nice move that erased the previous days of losses, and we had a nice move to the upside. The next day we followed, and it looks like we're back to 950. They're really holding this level here. So let's see if we continue holding. Maybe we are kind of collecting energy here for continuation to the upside from here. And if not, we might be diving lower again and correct or test the lows here. Oil on Friday had the move to the downside, maybe a reaction to the market. And we're back to this key level 76.50, as we mentioned, after rejecting the 200 moving average a few times. So we back to the level. There was a resistance for a while here. So let's see if we hold here. So if we hold, we might try go higher again. And if we break below this, we might be looking for next support. Natural gas, as you know, the saying unpredictable as weather. It looks like it's acting the same way. Finally, we bounced above the 171, 172 here. I think that was a new contract as well. And Friday was sold again. So energy market really sold on Friday. And here comes the champion, Mr. or Mrs. Coco. I'm not sure. Here's the move. I mean, it just moves vertical, unstoppable. Take a look at this month. We made this month a move larger than the previous 1, 2, 3, 4 months, and the month is not over yet. So simply, there's a huge shortage of cocoa. And as I mentioned, don't remember if I mentioned in this webinar or the other, it's a process of the markets. Here it's purely shortage of supply. So when the shortage of supply is causing the price to move significantly or drastically higher, at some point the product becomes too expensive to purchase. So we might see the demand cooling as the price is maybe not acceptable for buyers. So when that thing happens, at some point the demand will be affecting the product more than the shortage of supply. We might see that correction or sell-off or whatever that might cause. As of now, it's not showing it, but the huge, excuse me, we had a huge move. A few times it looked like, okay, we're going lower. Like here, if you remember, I mentioned here was the change of contracts, which is close the gap, we continue higher. So this shows the May contract. The March contract on Friday was not tradable because it was up by I think 9 or 10%, huge moves. So that's what you face sometimes in commodities when the move is drastic. You can't really get in and out sometimes on real futures. On we're talking about March futures on cocoa. So we'll be watching cocoa, definitely either continuation to the upside or correction. Sometimes a correction happens with a huge gap at the opening the session, and cocoa is trading short sessions. So we'll see what happens. So we're going to wrap it up with commodities, move to Forex. Of course, we'll start with dollar index. As you could see here, 104.15 was the level that we spoke about a few times. Support, resistance, a lot of actions. Thursday, we had the sell-off. We came right back. So we closed the week. Friday was pretty much flat. Open 103.85, close 103.87, 2 cents higher, above all the averages. So still 104.15 is the level. As of now, it's a resistance. The level below it's 200 moving average. So let's see what this week brings. As we mentioned, we have the numbers that the Feds are watching. That's the consumer expenditure, and this is the week where the number comes out. So we'll be following that. Now, if we go through to majors, if you remember, we mentioned that the pound is trying to enter that channel again between 128, 126. Would it succeed? The whole week we traded within the channel, tried to reach about mid channel, closing the week 126.70. The middle, it's about 127. So that's pound. Euro finally, as we mentioned, succeeded to break that 108 to the upside. But a nice move on Thursday. We hit 108.87, and then we give away the profits, and we close at 108.19. USD CAD had the move on Friday to the upside. And, as you know, CAD is sensitive to oil prices. So as the oil sold on Friday, we had the move of dollar CAD to the upside. Australian dollar, a lot of tails trying to move higher. It looks like it does, but very slowly, very unsure. New Zealand dollar, very strong for some reason. If you compare it with others, it looks very strong across the board. And as I mentioned to you when we spoke about the economic calendar, we had some announcements from New Zealand coming this week. And Japanese yen, it remains weak against the dollar here. It still can break the 150.87. I will see that, but let's check the yen against other currencies. It is gaining a little bit against the Swiss franc, but against others, it is weak. This is Australian dollar. Canadian dollar reacted again to that oil on Friday. Euro JPY closed flat. And the two others look strong. Pound JPY is super strong, moving higher. And the strongest, or at least it looks the strongest, is New Zealand dollar against JPY. As I mentioned, there's a significant strength in New Zealand dollar against others. Take a look, 3 consecutive weeks to the upside against the Japanese yen. So we definitely will be watching that. Turkish lira showing some strength. Maybe finally some things are changing there. And the last one I want to mention to you is the USD ZAR. ZAR is continuing weakness. We just broke through this few attempts to break above, what was the high here? 1921. We did close 1928. There's a lot of talks about politics and power in South Africa. We have upcoming elections in about 2 months, not 2 months, 3 months actually, 29th of May. There are elections, but they are talking a lot about it. So dollar is gaining strength against the ZAR here. Let's see if this move continues. Just to remind you, we had the high here back in May, actually, on the anniversary or a year before the upcoming elections. Here's May 28 when we reach, this is the week of May 28, when we reach the high of 1991. So let's see how ZAR plays out as we're getting closer to those elections in South Africa. And let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is really consolidating here. A lot of actions, a lot of fights. You see this spikes up and down. So far in this current move, we hit the point of almost 53. That was 52,956 on the 20th. Since then, we've been playing up and down, and we are currently, as we speak, at 51,500 on Bitcoin. As this move is really sustained, we had a big move here to do, of course, with the widely spread ETFs, and it looks like we're holding, possibly waiting for the next move. And take a look. We had a lot of actions here before this sell-off wave started, and that was in 2021, mid and end December. So we are fighting these levels here. All right. Okay. That's it pretty much. Again, please follow our channels, Telegram, X, and YouTube. Also, if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, please write your feedback, write your comments, put the likes if you do like it, share it with others, subscribe, click on the bell. And I want to thank everyone for participating. A small note, I will be taking a vacation next week, so most likely I will not do this Sunday. The next Sunday I won't be able to do, but I will try to do the webinar on Monday. You'll be notified, and it might be posted on Monday. So I want to wish everyone a successful week. All the best. Be well. Take care.